Good evening. Welcome to the forecast discussion for January 26, 2014. It's currently 5:56 p.m. Temperatures throughout the region range from the mid to upper teens over the interior and upper teens to lower 20s just north and west of the major cities, mid to upper 20s along the coast. We had some snow earlier on today that was unforecasted by a lot of the model guidance. That's a really important observation to take note as we move on through this upcoming week in what will be a very active weather week. The question is not whether it's going to be cold enough. The question is whether it's going to snow. Where is it going to snow and how heavy it is going to snow. The problem that I'm seeing here with the model guidance, it's not picking up the finer details and it's not picking up all the disturbances that are moving through the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. So we're going to talk about that and explain why that's important and why you're seeing a variety of different forecasts on your TV this evening. So let's take a look at the infrared satellite picture. You can see that disturbance rapidly exiting off the coast. We have another clipper on the way for tomorrow with some scattered snow showers by tomorrow afternoon. And we have our thermal gradient developing here along the southeast coast with an active subtropical jet stream getting itself act together. This is going to be a major player as we head into Wednesday for the southeast. The question is, does that increase also for the southern mid-Atlantic, portions of southern New Jersey, and maybe even touching portions of New York City? I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. As far as our radar, well, we're all clear out now. Earlier on, we did have a batch of snow showers. It even snowed during the Rangers and Devils game that was outdoors at Yankee Stadium. But right now, we are clearing out very nicely with no precipitation expected on through this evening. However, by tomorrow, different story as that Arctic cold front moves through and the clipper drives through the region. So here we are with my water vapor satellite picture. As you know, I always love using this tool because you can see the actual atmosphere, kind of go beyond what's going on with the models here. And I've been trying to debate how to explain this in the easiest way possible to explain the threat potential here. And a perfect example showed up today with those snow showers that moved through the region today, which, by the way, not one model, not one, has suggested that the snow showers would be as widespread or would have any impacts whatsoever on the hockey game that was outdoors. In fact, all the models were suggesting clear skies, and that was generally the forecast here. But what we saw were snow showers. Why is this important? It's important because it's a prime example of how poorly the models are handling the overall atmospheric pattern in dealing with these disturbances moving through the region. And that is the whole premise and the whole theory that these models are showing is based on how these disturbances interact. And today we saw a prime example of how the models aren't handling these disturbances, not surprisingly so, very well. So what you have right here is an example of a disturbance moving right along and just north of the warm front that's approaching, with our next clipper tomorrow. And we have another disturbance here. We have more disturbances here. We have a subtropical jet stream that's becoming more active. And the reason why this is important is that if you understand what's happening in the atmosphere, then you understand what the models are doing. So in the case of, as you're heading towards this upcoming weekend, a lot of the models are trying to do a pretty rapid warm-up. Why is that the case? The reason why the models are doing that is because, well, some of them are doing that, is because they're interacting, or what's called phasing, of the polar disturbances and the subtropical disturbances a little early, let's say over the plains. That leads to lowering heights over the plains, a trough, and as a result, to counteract that interaction, you have building heights, or in other words, a southeast ridge over the southeast, excuse me. So that leads to a further north track. That means warm air enters the Philadelphia, New York City metropolitan area, and you get a few scattered showers, or in some cases, no storm at all. like the GFS, which I'm about to show. Well, the 12Z one. 18Z one completely flipped. And even more so, when you look at the ensemble model guides of all the models, the European, the Canadian, the UK Met, heck, you could use the Japanese model, I don't care. All the ensemble models are colder. They're colder with a further south storm track. So what this is telling me is that the handling of this pattern is very poor. And the only way really to handle this pattern is really just to forecast and focus 3 days out. And even in today's case, that didn't work out very well because of the snow showers. It wasn't a huge impact, but you get the point here. This is a very volatile weather pattern, and one in which the interaction of disturbances, when, where, and how fast, is going to be a key factor throughout this entire week and throughout all of February. So my confidence on this forecast is very low. And anyone who's on any type of media outlet that is talking about the forecast for the Super Bowl, let's say, should have very low confidence in this type of pattern. Because as you can see, we have a lot of players on the field and they all want to have their day, and they all are trying to interact with each other between the subtropical jet stream and the polar jet stream, and that has the potential to lead to some messy situations. So for tomorrow, it's pretty straightforward. We have a clipper moving through, low temperatures in the mid to upper 20s, high temperatures upper 20s to lower 30s. Temperatures aren't going to really move all that much as this Arctic cold front moves through. Tuesday, pretty simple as well. High pressure in control, temperatures struggling in the teens, single digits to lower teens for lows, mid-teens for highs. It's not going to be a very pretty day on Tuesday. Now, Wednesday is interesting. Now, on the model guidance, here we have the 12Z GFS model guidance. And obviously, we're looking at, well, pretty much scattered cloud cover. Temperatures I like pretty much in the upper teens to lower 20s. For high temperatures, single digits to lower teens for low temperatures. Notice what's happening here on the GFS model guidance. You can see that the precipitation is focused off the coast. We have dry air in place. Why? The reason why is because this trough right here stays in what's called a positive tilt. So all the moisture is just streaming from southwest to northeast. There's no back building. There's nothing to pull this low closer to the coast. Now, this is the 18Z GFS model guidance. Now, I don't like using the 18Z model guidance because, well, it's a bit suspect, but it does mirror what a lot of the ensemble model guidance is trying to hint here. Now, notice the primary difference here. It's very subtle, but details matter. In this case, the precipitation shield is able to backbuild because our trough is more of a neutral tilt. Now, let's go back. There's 12Z, positive tilt, 18Z, neutral tilt. Okay, so that's really important because that means that the low pressure system is slower to exit, it's able to develop more, it's a little bit closer to the coast, and the precipitation shield is more expansive. Again, I'm not looking at a major snowfall here, but the small details matter. And with temperatures colder, I'd be very wary if you're from Philadelphia on south, heck, basically central New Jersey on south. I'd watch out for this storm because Wednesday, it could be a lot snowier than what you're seeing on the news, depending on the interaction of this trough. And this trough is more neutral tilt because this disturbance is a little bit further south. Again, look at the way that the pattern is set up. Now you're seeing the differences in the trough axis and the influences of this pattern because of the individual disturbances and these small little shifts in details. These small little shifts in orientation are going to be a major driving factor in what to expect here just for Wednesday alone. That's the first storm. Now again, I'm going to repeat, I am not calling for a major winter storm for the Philadelphia, New York City metropolitan area at this time. I am saying that this storm needs to be watched. Definitely for the southeast. If you're in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, this is a major snowfall event for you. Granted, 1 to 4 inches is a major snow event in those parts, but still, it's something to keep an eye on. Definitely, this is going to be something that will have some surprising impacts. It's going to catch some people by surprise if they just use the operational model guidance. However, when you look at the ensembles, it's been advertising this for some time. For our neck of the woods in Philadelphia and New York City, I still say watch out for this storm. Watch out for it being on the northern edge here, and Wednesday could feature maybe an inch or two over the New York City metropolitan area, but I'm thinking southern New Jersey might get into some of this moderate snowfall here. So we have to watch this disturbance very, very carefully. And I'm also a little bit concerned that this disturbance is able to dive south a little bit faster and could tilt this trough into more of a negative axis. And that, combined with our polar vortex right up here, could support enough blocking to make this rather interesting. Now, if you really want to be thrown for a loop, let's look at Super Bowl Sunday. So let's say Wednesday we get through, we got scattered snow showers. Thursday, we have temperatures in the single digits for lows, upper 20s for highs. It's a little bit warmer, feels balmy out. And then all of a sudden you get to Friday. And look what the model guidance are trying to do. It's trying to warm temperatures up on a southwesterly flow. The polar vortex is starting to lift up north a little bit. And the model guidance is suggesting upper 30s to lower 40s for highs. And look at this, it barely produces any type of storm, right? Well, let's take a look at the 18Z guidance. Not exactly. It's a lot colder. Talking about temperatures basically stuck in the 20s and 30s still. And oh, by the way, here comes our little precipitation event just in time for Super Bowl Sunday. Not a major storm, but look at what type of solutions we've had so far. For this time period, the models, a variety of models, have produced a major rainstorm, snowstorm, ice storm, no storm, to a moderate snowfall. It's forecasted anywhere from 25 to 55. My point here, this is a high volatility event. And what you have here is a pattern that supports and that's showing what's called a split flow pattern. Let me try to zoom out here and pull this up. Okay, so here we are at Super Bowl Sunday, and this is what's called a split flow pattern. You have your polar vortex here, keeping all the cold air in place. And then you have your subtropical jet stream right here, digging a nice trough around California and shooting disturbances out. And how this interacts basically is what's going to drive your weather pattern. If these disturbances interact here, and the storm track is up towards, let's say, the Hudson River Valley, hey, you got rain. But if it's a little bit later, then you end up with this, snow. So my point here tonight is that we have a high volatility type pattern. Don't jump the gun. We'll take 3 days out each time. So look for snow showers again on Monday, with temperatures in the upper 20s to lower 30s for highs. Tuesday, we're brutally cold in the teens. Wednesday, I have to watch out for Wednesday with some scattered snow showers. I think right now, upper teens to lower 20s for highs, single digits to lower teens for lows. We'll be watching that storm for Wednesday, very important. I think it's going to be a big clue for us moving on forward. Again, for the most part, I think the most of the snow is going to be focused to the south, but the fact we're seeing a larger precipitation shield could mean that portions of Cape May, portions of Wildwood, New Jersey, for example, could see a burst of moderate snowfall for some time Wednesday evening, and then the rest of the region more like scattered snow showers. But definitely something to keep an eye on as we move forward. Well, that is your forecast discussion for tonight. I will continue to keep an eye on this very active and very volatile weather pattern and keep you abreast of the latest situations. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Thank you for following NYNJPA Weather, You can always follow the latest weather information at nynjpaweather.com and nynjpaweather on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn. As always, stay safe out there.